Good evening, everyone. It is Felicia Carter with Cottage Institution. Welcome to Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is our spiritual book reading session that we do. And so let me tell y'all about what happened on Thursday. Okay. Thursday, it was a lot going on. My microphones, I don't know what has happened to them, but normally when I use the microphones, it cancels out any background noise because since we are doing a book reading session, I want you guys to be able to hear what's going on. I wasn't feeling too well off and on since Thursday, headaches and nausea and all that stuff or whatever. But I tried to do a recording of chapter 8 and it did not work out good. Like I had to keep pausing it and all of that stuff. So I apologize. And it completely slipped my mind to let you guys know because it was just a lot going on. So I apologize. I don't know that Thursdays is turning out to be a good day for the second day of the week for the book reading sessions. So I'm going to try something different for that. But I do apologize. So I do want to go ahead and get started with the book reading session. This is chapter 8 of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I'm trying to get a schedule together for the podcast. I'm trying to get schedules together for the live videos that I'm doing. I'm trying to get a schedule together for the book reading session so that I'm able to try and keep a more consistent schedule um, so that I'm not guessing and you guys are not guessing. It has been a little bit more difficult with like lifing. But I'm going to do the very best that I can do. And I hope that you all understand. So if this is your first time joining our book reading session, please let me know in the comment section. Also, if you are a returning, um, you know, uh, if you're a returning guest and you've been here before, please let me know. Please make sure that you all heart this and share this out. I would greatly appreciate that. If you have a hard copy of the book, chapter 8 starts on page 175, and it is called Meditation Demystifying the Mystical and Ways of Your Future. So that is where we are. Chapter 8 is pretty long chapter, but we are going to get through it as much as possible. First time. What does it say? Uh, wait, what is it? All right, thank you for coming. Definitely appreciate you coming for the first time. I hope that you enjoy it. Let me know something else. Have you all heard of the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, or is this your first time hearing about it? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to say I love my first time listeners. You guys are so appreciated, and my returning listeners, because that means that hopefully this book is doing what it said it would do. I picked this book first because it's a mindset book. So I wanted to first shape our mindset, which is something about it goes hand in hand with the spiritual growth podcast that I do as well through Cottage Institution and my main page, Felicia Carey Carter, and my YouTube page, which is now Digital Marketing with Fee. I post to those three channels often. Some of the things that I do. And since I started Spiritual Growth Podcast, I wanted to have something in correlation with that where we could also read something that would help with our mindset or spirituality a little bit more, because I feel that we should be growing every day. So that was the reason of doing the book reading sessions, to go hand in hand with learning and growing our spirituality. Thank you so much for joining your first time here. Thank you so much. first time hearing about the book. Okay, thank you so much. It was my first time hearing about the book as well. Um, and I actually, when I first saw the book, I actually saw it, and I love telling this story because it was so crazy. I was in the thrift store with my daughter. She was thrifting for clothes and things like that because she loves to do that. And I had to, take a moment away from her at that time. And I went to look at the books that they had in the thrift store. And I saw this particular one. They had other like spirituality books and things like that, but I saw this one and it said how to lose your mind and create a new one. And I was like, I wonder if that's something that I need to be doing. I had no idea about Dr. Joe Dispenza like that. Like I had heard his name before, but I hadn't really been into him, you know. And I was like, let me go ahead and pick this book up. Now, when I saw, and I also saw the price point on the book, it was $2.98. I said it can't hurt because this book is a $17 book, but I feel like this book is definitely worth much more than that. Since we have been reading it, it has definitely changed a lot of my mindset about certain things and what I need to be doing. So this book has definitely been awesome. Hi, love. I do saw your like on my live video. Thought you want me to Oh, Sam. No, I don't want to be considered for a reading. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. I love y'all too. This is why I do this because I feel that, you know, doing these things not only helps myself, but it helps others. And that is why I do this. The Spiritual Growth Podcast, the book reading sessions, all of this stuff is to help to shape us as person. And that is what I do it for. First time I've heard of the book also. Yes. And it's an amazing, amazing book. If you all don't have it in a thrift store near you, you can get it off of Audible. With if you have Audible Premium or whatever, you can get the credits and you can purchase it with a credit. If you have Spotify Premium, audiobooks are free on there. You can get it from Barnes and Nobles. You can probably get it from the library. That is an option as well. Or you can get it off of Amazon. Amazon, is the holy grail of everything. So let's go ahead and hop into this section. This section is about meditation. And I don't think we hadn't started chapter 8 at all. So I went on back to the beginning. I actually am playing the audio version on my phone. So y'all please let me know if you do not hear it anymore. And then I'll have to fix it. I like to move it closer to the laptop so that y'all can hear it. Please let me know if anything breaks up. If you stop hearing audio or anything like that, I will be following along in my book because that's me. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's go ahead and hop into it, y'all.
Meditation, demystifying the mystical, and waves of your future. In the previous chapter, I wrote about the need to bridge the space between who we really are and the image we present to the world. When we're able to do that, we can take steps towards freeing up the necessary energy to become that ideal self, modeled after some of the great people in history of the world, such as Gandhi and Joan of Arc. And as I've said, one of the keys to breaking the habit of being yourself is working towards being more observant, whether that entails being more metacognitive, monitoring your thoughts, embracing stillness, or focusing more attention on your behaviors and how elements in your environment might trigger emotional responses. So the big question here is, how do you do all this? In other words, how do you become more observant, break your emotional bonds with the body, the environment, and time, and close the gap? The answer is simple: meditation. You may have noticed that up to this point in the book, I have teased you with brief allusions to meditation as the way to break the habit of being yourself and begin to create a new life as your ideal self. I told you that the information in parts 1 and 2 of this book would prepare you to understand what you will be doing when you apply the meditative steps you will practice in part 3. Now it's time to explain the inner workings of the process that I refer to as meditation. When I use the term meditation, an image of a person seated cross-legged in front of a shrine at home, a bearded and gowned yogi sitting in a secluded cave in the Himalayas, or some other visual may come to mind. That individual may be a representation of what you understand is the way to go quiet, empty the mind, focus all of one's attention on a thought, or engage in any of the other variations of the practice of meditation. There are a lot of meditative techniques, but in this book, my wish is to help you produce the most desirable benefit of meditation: being able to access and enter the operating system of the subconscious mind, so that you will move away from simply being yourself and your thoughts, beliefs, actions, and emotions to observing those things. And then once you are there, to subconsciously reprogram your brain and body to a new mind. When you move from unconsciously producing thoughts, beliefs, actions, and emotions, and take control of them through the conscious application of your will, you can unlock the chains of being your old self to become a new self. How you get to the point at which you are able to access that operating system and bring the unconscious into your consciousness is the subject we'll cover through the rest of this book. In the Tibetan language, to meditate means to become familiar with. Accordingly, I use the term meditation as a synonym for self-observation, as well as self-development. After all, to become familiar with anything, we have to spend some time observing it. Again, the key moment in making any change is going from being it to observing it. Another way to think of this transition is when you go from being a doer to a doer-watcher. An easy analogy I can use is that when athletes or performers, golfers, skiers, swimmers, dancers, singers, or actors want to change something about their technique, most coaches have them watch videotape of themselves. How can you change from an old mode of operation to a new one unless you see what old and new look like? It's the same with your old and new self. How can you stop doing things one way without knowing what that way looks like? I frequently use the term unlearning to describe this phase of changing. This process of becoming familiar with the self works both ways. You need to see the old and the new self. You have to observe yourself so precisely and vigilantly, as I've described, that you won't allow any unconscious thought, emotion, or behavior to go unnoticed. Since you have the equipment to do this because of the size of your frontal lobe, you can look at yourself and decide what you want to change in order to do a better job in life. When you can become conscious of those unconscious aspects of the old, habituated self, rooted in the operating system of the subconscious, you are beginning the process of changing anything about yourself. What steps do you normally take when you get serious about doing something differently? You separate yourself from your external world long enough to think about what to do and not do. You start becoming aware of many aspects of the old self, and you begin to plan a course of action related to a new self. For example, if you want to become happy, the first step is to stop being unhappy. That is, stop thinking the thoughts that make you unhappy and stop feeling the sorrow and bitterness. If you desire to become wealthy, you probably decide to stop doing the things that make you poor. If you want to be healthy, you have to stop living an unhealthy lifestyle. These
Sorry.
examples are to show you that first, you have to make the decision to stop being the old you to such a degree that you make room for a new personality, thinking, acting, and doing. Therefore, if you eliminate stimuli from your external world by closing your eyes and becoming quiet, decreasing your sensory input, putting your body in a state of stillness, and no longer focusing on linear time, you could become aware solely of how you are thinking and feeling. And if you began to pay attention to your unconscious states of mind and body and become familiar with your automatic unconscious programs until they become conscious, would you be meditating? The answer is yes. To know thyself is to meditate. If you are no longer being that old personality, but instead are noticing different aspects of it, wouldn't you agree that you are the consciousness observing the programs of that past identity? In other words, if you consciously observe the old self, you are no longer being it. As you go from being unaware of being aware, you are beginning to objectify your subjective mind. That is, by your paying attention to the old habit of being you, your conscious participation begins to separate you from those unconscious programs and gives you more control over them. By the way, if you are successful in consciously restraining those routine states of mind and body, then nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. As you prune away the neurological hardware of the old self, you also no longer signal the same genes in identical ways. You are breaking the habit of being you. Now, let's take it one step further. Once you have become familiar with the old self to the extent that no thought, no behavior, and no feeling will cause you to fall unconsciously into previous patterns, you might agree that it would be a good idea to begin to become familiar with a new self. Accordingly, you may ask yourself, what is the greatest expression of myself that I would like to be? If you turn on your frontal lobe and contemplate those aspects of self, you will begin to make your brain work differently than your past self. As your frontal lobe, the CEO, entertains that new question, it looks out over the landscape of the rest of the brain and seamlessly combines all of your stored knowledge and experiences into a new model of thought. It helps internal neurological networks. As you ponder the fundamental question above, your neurons will begin to fire and wire in new sequences, patterns, and combinations because you are thinking differently. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind. As you plan your actions, speculate on novel possibilities, conjure up innovative ways of being, and dream of new states of mind and body, there will be a moment that the frontal lobe will turn on and lower the volume to the big three. When the thoughts you are thinking will become an eternal, you will install new software and hardware programs into your nervous system. and it will appear that the experience of being your new self has already been realized in your brain. And if you repeat this process every day, your ideal will become a familiar state of mind. One more point here. If you attend so well to the thought you are focusing on that it literally becomes an experience, then the end product of that is an emotion. Once that emotion is created, you begin to feel like your new ideal, and that new feeling will start to become familiar. Remember that when your body begins to respond as if the experience is already a present reality, you will signal your genes in new ways, and your body will commence to change now, ahead of the physical event in your life. Now you are ahead of time, and most important, you move into a state of being, mind and body working together. And if you repeat this process consistently, this state of being will become familiar to you as well. Differently in your world. That's the quantum law. Let's summarize here. All you have to do is remind yourself who you know your old self, the thoughts, behaviors, and emotions connected to the old you that you want to change. To the extent that you unfire and unwire the old mind away and no longer signal the same genes in the same ways. Then you repeatedly contemplate who you do want to be. As a result, you will fire and wire new levels of mind, to which you will emotionally condition the body until they become familiar and second nature to you. That's change. Besides its meaning in Tibetan, to meditate in Sanskrit means to cultivate self. I especially like this definition because of the metaphorical possibilities it offers. For example, gardening or agriculture. When you cultivate the soil, you take that has been lying fallow for a while.
Hold on, y'all. See, that's why I like to turn on my do not disturb. I don't know what's going on my phone.
New dirt and nutrients, making it easier for seeds to germinate and for tender shoots to take root. Cultivation may also
What's the up today? Let me know if y'all can hear me, please. If y'all can hear me, please go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. If y'all can hear me, please go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Okay, is it lagging? Is it breaking up? Awesome. Okay, I see ones in the chat, so I'm gonna go ahead and press play. So we can go ahead and finish chapter 8. Hopefully, we can finish all of chapter 8. If there are any more connection issues, y'all please make sure in the comment section, okay?
or perceptions about yourself that are subconsciously under block your growth. All these need tending so that you can make room to plant a new garden or crop without proper preparation. It would yield little fruit. The other key thing is to ensure that this doesn't happen haphazardly. Tiny percentage of them eventually coming to fruition. Instead, to cultivate requires making conscious decisions. When to till the soil, when to plant, what to plant, how we
Move my phone over a little bit. Y'all let me know. Thank you, Anissa. Is it better now? Is it better now? Is it still lagging? And I went ahead and I moved my to work too hard. The connection is better now. Man, okay. That maybe I can cut it off here, and then we can start up another day. Hasn't been treating me nothing. So for I figured that after retrograde, yard service and everything would work better, but doing straight to Facebook. I will also put in the comment section what page